Everybody, this is Rachel Alm. I apologize for the delay. I want to thank everyone at the NTA office for helping me through a minor technical issue. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for waiting. I'll make it worth your time. So my name is Rachel Alm. I am a lead instructor for the Nutritional Therapy Association and also a resident of Arizona State and the proud lead instructor for this upcoming Phoenix venue. So I want to warmly welcome you to consider joining my classroom. Hopefully I can give you a little taste of what's to come for you with an education with the NTA. So I want to start out by sharing just a little bit about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, something I've been studying for a long time now, and I think overlays really nicely with the concepts of Nutritional Therapy Association. And that is the concept of how our health relates to the seasons and seasonal transitions. So I'm going to layer several perspectives here for you and share a little bit of what I think is significant. And I'm going to begin with the basic principle of Ayurveda. And in Ayurvedic medicine, the wisdom that is time-honored tells us that there are 3 different doshas or constitutions that would describe what is predominantly characteristic in our body and also our environment and the foods that we eat. And they associate the fall with the characteristic of a Vata dosha. And a few of those qualities include something that is dry and windy and rough. Okay, so just think about that and keep that in your mind as I continue to talk about how the seasons affect our body. And what do we notice? What are our life experiences and observations in the fall? One is that the temperatures begin to drop. This may or not be the case for you right now in your climate, but I know here in northern Arizona we're experiencing some drops in temperature, especially in the evenings. For some people, that is a very welcome change. Many people have had enough of the heat. They're really excited to pull a sweater out of the closet. And other people are very resistant to this change because they didn't feel they got enough heat. They really love the summer. And that is very telling of what is most predominant in your personal dosha or characteristics. Some people prefer the heat, some people prefer the cold. But regardless, the earth is shifting and we must shift with it. So it helps to be aware of some of those influences that we'll experience and how we can support our bodies to balance that influence. So we notice the temperatures drop. We also notice the trees make some very significant and beautiful changes, right? So the leaves will begin to change colors, and eventually those leaves will drop from the trees. This is all happening because the cold temperatures are telling the trees to divert that sap or that vital life force back to the center, so turning inward and bringing the energy back into the core. And this is something that our bodies are doing as well. When we have that stimulation of cold temperatures outside, our body will bring the energy into the center. Also mentally and spiritually, we do a lot of turning in during this time. And so what we'll notice is that much like the trees, we will start to experience some dryness on the outer parts of our body. So our skin might become rough and dry, 2 of those characteristics of a Vata dosha. We might also notice that our hands and feet start getting a little bit cold. That's pretty typical, right, of the fall. And then there's also this other aspect of our life in the fall, which has to do with changes in the social calendar, changes in the academic calendar. So whereas in the summertime, we had a little bit more laid back sort of mentality or schedule, some of us, especially with kids out of school, September is a time that many of us will start to consider personal development, intellectual development, and projects. So it is no accident that back to school season lands at this time for us. And thank you, Nutritional Therapy Association, for offering several venue options that begin this September. So it's a really, really great time energetically and seasonally to consider investing in your education. But with that addition to your life, in addition to the social calendar, which fills up at back to school time, some people experience some anxiety. So that's not uncommon to feel a little bit overwhelmed, like we're just so jam-packed and having to go all the time. And then some people might experience sluggish digestion as well. So constipation is fairly common as we transition into autumn. And another perspective here on the seasons, what does traditional Chinese medicine say about the fall? Well, a lot. And while I can't go into all of the details on this this short mini lecture right now, I can say that in traditional Chinese medicine, they associate the organs of the lungs and the colon with the transition to autumn. So isn't that interesting? I was describing the wind, the aspect of the wind, and that directly relates to the lungs in Chinese medicine as well. And then there is the colon. Remember I had said sluggish digestion is fairly common during the fall. So support for the lungs and the colon should be prioritized at this time. What can we do then? What can we do then to bring balance to the body considering these influences? One thing that I'm really excited. Okay, hopefully I'm back on. So sorry for that delay, you guys. So plant medicine is one of those things that we can do to support ourselves through this transition into fall. So I just went out this morning into the beautiful forest that surrounds me here in northern Arizona, and I was able to gather a few plants that the earth has provided for us exactly when they're most needed. So the first one I want to share is blue vervain, also known as verbena. So this is a beautiful flower with many great properties. One of them is to soothe the nervous system, and it's also supportive of the respiratory system. Can you guys still hear me? I hope you can still see me. Okay, apologies everybody, I'm back on. A little bit of a rough internet connection moment there, my apologies. So I was talking about plants that are provided to us by nature just when we need them most. 3 plants that I went out and collected just this morning in the forest surrounding me in northern Arizona. One of them is blue vervain. It's a beautiful plant with many, many medicinal qualities. So this one helps to soothe the nervous system, can help us through some of the tension of back to school season. Another one is mullein, and you might recognize this one if you've ever been to the Southwest or any of the high desert climates. So mullein is very useful and supportive of the lungs. And finally, another really lovely one is very prevalent in Arizona, so get excited if you join the Phoenix venue. Either you already know this plant or you'll be seeing a lot of it, and it's called globe mallow. It's very, very common, very abundant all over the American Southwest, also known as apricot mallow. So this is a plant. Okay, back on. Demulcent qualities that can help move digestion along. So it's lubricating and supportive to the mucosa. And then what can we do food-wise, right? We're nutritional therapy practitioners, or at least aspiring ones. So what can we do in terms of food to feed us through this time? So I highly recommend anything that lubricates or oils the body. So you can do a warm sesame oil massage on your skin, and you can also add a little bit more oil to the foods that you eat. Ghee is a really nice choice, so clarified butter. Another thing that we can add is anything with a little extra salt. So high mineral content foods that will help us stay hydrated. Unrefined sea salt is a great choice. So add a little extra ghee, add a little bit of salt. And then the sour flavor is also helpful because it's thought to make us kind of juicy. You know, when we eat or even think about tasting a lemon, we start to secrete juices in the body. So that's a way to stay juicy, so to speak. Squeeze some lemon on your food or drink a little lemon water in the morning. And then also the sweet flavor can be helpful at this time. And I don't mean refined sugar foods. I mean naturally sweet foods that we typically see during the autumn. So sweet potatoes, and also those hard winter squashes. These are things that we typically think about in the autumn, but there's a reason that they're there. So the sweetness can help mitigate some of the dry quality of the fall. And then finally, what can we do to support ourselves through the fall? We can assess our organ systems with the help of a nutritional therapy practitioner. We can identify where the body is most in need of support. And as an NTP, we are skilled in performing an assessment of the body. So this is truly what sets you apart as a student and practitioner of the NTA. So not only will you get a training in holistic assessment and behavior change principles and nutrition counseling concepts, but you will also learn a functional approach to assessing somebody's health and identifying deficiencies or a need for support in the body. And we do this by an NTP will know exactly where on the body to locate and palpate to assess whether the body is in need of support. So as an example here, we talked about the lungs being an organ that can be affected in this transition to fall. So your nutritional therapy practitioner, or you as a student, will look at your client and you will locate the third and the fourth intercostal spaces on either side of the sternum, and you will perform a palpation to determine whether those lungs are working well or in need of support. From there, when you assess a need, you can formulate a protocol, a targeted nutrient protocol that is specific to healing that body system and looking at how one organ might affect another one as well. You'll be able to identify foods to eliminate from the diet because they might be inflammatory or further triggering an imbalance or dysfunction. And you can give recommendations for foods that are healing and supportive. So this program, the Nutritional, is not an easy one. This nutritional therapy training program is not an easy one, but it is certainly fulfilling. So what you can expect is 9 months of very focused study. You will be learning a lot about the human body from an anatomy and physiology perspective. You'll be learning behavior change principles and how we can support someone and assess their readiness to change. Please understand that this is a practitioner training program, so you will be able to experience some personal healing many times. Many people will experience a new awareness for their own body. But you will also be able to have a professional launching point should you choose to go into practice, either private practice or joining a wellness clinic. You will have skills that will help you to rise to the top of other nutrition professionals out there. Also, as a student of this training program, you will make friends for life. So it's a very, very personal and intimate experience, oftentimes, to spend 3 long weekend workshops together over the course of 9 months, getting to know your classmates, learning a lot about our health, learning a lot about each other. So it's a very, very impactful program that is going to grow your community and grow your awareness of how the body works and how you can contribute to your community and promote wellness. So I will say that Phoenix is building its NTP presence. It's a very, very supportive and welcoming environment for people who choose to live a healthy lifestyle. And it's also a state that supports nutritional therapy practitioners in practice. It's also a great place to visit. So if you are not local to Phoenix, but you want a nice warm place to visit 3 times a year, I strongly encourage you to consider Phoenix. So we have, in addition to myself, we have a co-instructor and several graduates of the program, many of them local to the Phoenix area, who have applied their training and they have come back now to assist us, the instructors, in the program. So we call these our group leaders, and our program is in many ways what it is because of the group leaders who come back. They are the ones who champion our program, and they support each student in integrating the knowledge and helping to learn the skill set. So I highly suggest you consider coming to Phoenix, and also while you're here, start looking for some of those plants that I was showing you. I'll bring you back to the blue vervain because it's my favorite one of the day. So blue vervain, also known as verbena, is very supportive of the respiratory tract, and it's also great for easing the nerves, as I mentioned before. So think about adding blue vervain whenever you're experiencing a little bit of anxiety or a little respiratory issue in this transition to autumn. And coming back to the globe mallow or apricot mallow, which is a member of the marshmallow family. You may recognize that. So this is one that nutritional therapy practitioners know and love for its ability to help soothe the mucosa or the lining of the intestines. So things like slippery elm. Hello, I'm back again. Your question, Mackenzie, is how do you prepare these plants? How do I prepare these plants so that you can use them medicinally? And that's a great question. Each plant has unique properties, and so it takes a deeper study of herbal medicine to know how to best extract the plant power, I call it, from each of these plants. But in terms of mullein here, this is a very small mullein. Sometimes you can see one that is 5 feet tall, depending on the region that it's growing in, how much sun it gets and nutrients. Mullein, the leaves can be dried and used as tea really easily. So that's a great way to do it. You can also do a very strong infusion or a strong tea of mullein and mix it with some honey to do a little cough syrup, which is really lovely through this season where some of us start to have respiratory issues. And then the verbena, or blue vervain, a couple of preparations. You could do a tea of the fresh flower and also the green leaves, or you can do a tincture. So you can make a tincture with it by chopping up the flowers and the leaves and covering it with alcohol. So a fresh plant needs a high proof alcohol, something like Everclear, to extract the plant power from the leaves and flowers. And it's nice to start a tincture on the new moon because it takes about 14 days to infuse the alcohol with the herbal constituents that are used medicinally. And then globe mallow, this is a different one. So it's not great for tincture. All right, so globe mallow is not a great one for tincture because it's a mucilaginous herb, which means it does best in water rather than alcohol. So you can dry the plant, both the flowers and the leaves, as well as the root, dry it and chop it up, and then you can make a tea with it. So even a cold water infusion, and it will start to draw out some of that kind of gooey type material. So it's a mucilaginous material that is also known as a demulcent in herbal medicine. Highly hydrating, nourishing, and soothing to inflamed mucosa. So it's great if you have a sore throat or irritated lungs, if you have a urinary tract infection, or if you have inflamed intestines. So this goes right back to supporting the colon during the fall. And globe mallow I like to use because it's local to the Southwest area. If you don't have access to fresh wild globe mallow, don't worry. You can use marshmallow root, which is available at any bulk herb store. Also slippery elm is another great mucilaginous herb. And then there's another gut healing herb that I like a lot, which is licorice root. And that's a cooling herb. So when there's an excess of heat in the body, a little bit of cooling goes a long way. So just like in the Ayurvedic tradition, we identify an excess or a deficiency, and we think about how opposites balance. So if we have an excess of heat in the body, we'll bring in cooling foods and a cooling environment. Same is true for things that are wet. If you have excess moisture or phlegm in the body, say an upper respiratory issue, then you would think about bringing in things that are drying. So that is just one of the concepts I've been studying lately, the energetics of plants and foods and our environment. So I like to infuse some of those things into what I teach in my NTA classroom. And my students typically appreciate having this solid understanding of the foundations of the nutritional therapy training program, and then also some of the additional thoughts that I might infuse related to herbal medicine, plant energetics, and also another background that I have is in behavior change principles. So I like to bring in lots of information and modeling and support around how to identify when a client is ready to make a change. Because what is nutritional therapy but helping somebody to make a change in their life? And that's not always an easy thing to do. So as a nutrition professional, and understanding the cycle of change and how that works in the world for all of us is. All right, everybody. So I'm going to wrap up due to my technical challenges today, which I apologize for, but I want to thank you all for tuning in and listening to my discussion of how the seasons affect our health and how we can notice those influences, support our bodies, nourish ourselves, and balance ourselves through these transitions. So please consider the Phoenix venue as a really wonderful option if you're interested in pursuing a career in nutritional therapy. It's an incredibly transformative, life-changing program, and Phoenix is a beautiful place to go through the program. If you are one of those people who needs a little bit of extra warm, especially, it's a nice place to visit through the cooler months of the year. So in December, March, and June, we'll get together for 3 in-person workshops, either 3 or 4 days long. And the rest of the program over the 9-month duration is online based. So you'll be doing a lot of your coursework on a self-paced pace. So working it in as it works for you, which is one thing we really pride ourselves in, is making this program accessible for all people, working adults who have busy lives. And so you'll do your work online, and then we get together twice a month for a live video conference call where we get to commune